are going to watch this as well, which is kind of fun. I'm putting up the cameras. Some things to talk about. Dates. December 4th is the Sunshine Coast Christmas Party, which is a Sunday, is our Christmas party and reverse draw at the Tap and Barrel. We have, how many are here in blended families? I'm not. I should put my hand up. Yeah, there's a few, right? It's kind of it's a way people come up with new traditions, and so we're having a new blended family. We've had new companies come together. So one of our new traditions will be continuing with the reverse draw, but this year we're going to do it at the Tap and Barrel because it's a big space, much easier on us, and it allows us to do the Christmas dinner in advance. So people who want to come and have a nice dinner, sit down dinner, welcome to come. People who want to come and just do the cocktail reception reverse draw afterwards. So for those of you who we sell 1,000 tickets a piece, which raises $10,000 for charity. That's the intent. What we need to do that is acquire great prizes. And so if you have suppliers, people you work with, customers that have their own businesses that want to start speaking, a $50 gift, then we give them lots of exposure throughout the advertising material. So if you've got people that would be interested in that kind of stuff, or if you can come up with products yourself and want to get recognized, every penny of it goes towards it'll be in the North Shore Crisis Center. So that's coming up December 6th. Stats Center training tomorrow, so we're back here. Then I'll go over to West Vancouver. Great stuff into the board. 9 a.m. here, 11 o'clock in West Van, 2 o'clock downtown. So you can join me at those. I think that's all I have for you today, and we're excited to have with us today.
Well, I'd like to introduce Kim to the real estate board. A highlight on Kim. 1980, begins selling real estate after a career as a school teacher. So if you need to talk to him, bring a shiny red apple. 1986, begins teaching applied real estate course post-licensing. 88 to 99, manages various real estate offices. 1993, becomes continuing professional education, CPE, now professional development program, seminar leader, course writer, and speaker. 94 to 97, becomes real estate board divisional director, serves on the presidential task force, 10-year member of professional conduct committee. Geez, where do you have time for this?
No. Well, it started
1990 sales manager, top producer Systems Inc. What did you work for?
Yeah.
No. Okay. 2000, and that's where we have most of our exposure to them now. If you give them a call, well, directly, you entertain calls directly, don't you?
I do.
Yes. Without further ado, Kim, the floor is
Manager professional standards is insurance.
Yeah, so I was at PCREA in between top producer and the board. As I said, that job nearly killed me. You have no idea what it's like. Anybody sold software before? No. But I got burned out when Block Brothers went under the company, and thought that would be fun, and it was, until I realized that, you know, the owners and me, and we all had a different sort of viewpoint, which is fine. That's what happens. So I thought, okay, that's it. I'm leaving the real estate business. So I went to and it had 120,000 realtors, most of whom spent 3 weeks a month in the U.S. on the road, going to trade shows, standing behind the booth, doing the pitch. Don't ever do that. I questioned, and I forgot. And I pose your question in the form of a scenario, and we'll throw it out there and talk about it. And, can't remember now. Okay, well, Okay, so here's lots of questions all the time. And I don't know all the answers. I'm happy to tell you what I think. And I don't give legal advice. I'll tell you what, whether you're in the danger zone or not. That's actually something that the more we get jammed up a lot. And, I think it's okay to say, you know what, that's a decision that you're going to have to make, and you're going to need to take some legal advice in order to make it. So talk to your lawyer, and then instruct me what you and it makes it a lot. So I think that maybe a lot of newer members, maybe they're not so sure their services or their confidence level isn't up yet. I don't know the answer to that. They're just not confident enough. And it's a thing to say. You'll sort of guess and just throw something out there and hope it's correct. So here's when we're done with the conversation, I'll tell you what the professional conduct means things. So we're all familiar with the pricing technique of pricing to the market, or maybe just a tad under the market. That started some. Sorry, I'll speak up. Okay, so there's this thing that we do with pricing, and the intention or the goal is to get multiple offers. We price the property at right on the market, or just a little bit above, or maybe just a little bit below. Or all, you do that. Exactly. Although there's a guy. Anyway, so that's the goal, and the seller understands what the program is. There's really no risk to the seller, because he or she's concerned you're going to demand a commission if they turn down a full price offer that they don't want in the first place, right? That you'd have to give them some comfort. I sign an offer, but all things being said, that it's quite a good pricing technique. It's called the slightly less, slightly more. Do you remember Jerry Bresser? Anybody remember him?
Absolutely.
Sure you do. Okay.
I remember.
Yeah, you remember him? Sure you do, Bill. Okay. Nobody under the age of 60 probably. Anyway. Okay, so lately though, I think things are getting out of hand. As always, they're too much of a good thing. And this is just my opinion, okay? And I'm lucky because I have the advantage of some perspective, from being some distance to what you guys do all the time. I have a lot of respect, and I remember what it was like to be one of you. And it's a tough job. It's not easy. I get it. So here's the deal. So let's say your property is worth about $900. Okay, so you would think you'd price it at maybe $899 if you're going to go to that pricing technique, or maybe $999, or not $999, $909, or something really close. What about if you were to price it at $800? Do you think anyone's doing that? Yeah, they are. They're pricing it at $800, and the seller has absolutely no intention of accepting. He doesn't want $900. He wants, but it's priced at $100. Personally, think that's pushing the envelope. I think we're on the wrong side. Opinion on this. I think it's going to blow back on us as a profession. I think it's going to capture the attention of the regulators. So with all that in mind, they went to the professional conduct committee and they said, shut up. As long as the seller approves it, understands, it's fine. Now, I actually disagree with that. I really do. And here's why. Because I've had probably in the last month or two, a number of complaints from, rash people. I'm not crazy. Other people just don't understand business. I'm talking about rational people who call and say things like this, like the guy from South Africa, Deep Coat, who says, look, what kind of operation are you guys running? You're running a bait and switch operation. You're listing properties at prices that the seller has absolutely no intention of accepting, and it's misleading. And actually, I agree with him. No, I wouldn't say that publicly. Well, I don't know how public is this, but not very, I hope.
It'll be on YouTube.
Yeah. Just, for something to reflect on the next time you're stuck on the causeway. Something to reflect on. Certainly, I think if you're going to put listing sharp, do you have anything in your file that confirms the conversation that you had with your client? Pricing, process that you followed. You've done a CMA. You've had them initial a CMA. You do that, right? You get 2 copies, keep one for yourself, you keep one with the initial on it. So you've got documentation that you reviewed the market with them, and notwithstanding that brilliant CMA you did, they want to price it here, and you get them to instruct you, send you an email to confirm their instructions. That's all in your file, and you're probably good. I keep pointing at Mark because I still think he's on professional conduct. I think you withstand scrutiny from our professional conduct committee. I'm not actually talking about that. I'm talking about public perception. And I guess this is, where the discussion that you might want to have with yourself sometime is, at what point do we, stop becoming agents for the particular client in that minute situation and, start looking at the bigger picture of our collective reputation and our beloved MLS service that we pay for, fund, and that has the respect of government agencies and the public. At what point do we start worrying about the reputation of the MLS system? So it's a good discussion. I don't have the answers. I'm just expressing some concern. I mean, I had a letter from a lawyer not long after, which I sent to the committee. And he basically said the same thing. This property is priced at X, and my agent was told by the seller's agent that the seller would accept anything less than Y. But it was especially it's 804, 805. It's one of those in the rules of cooperation. It actually says that you must not offer or advertise the property at anything less than the listed price, right? So if you were to price a property 800 and it's actually the seller won't take less than 1.1, and you say they won't take less than 1.1, to my mind, that's a breach of 804. It actually is. So I don't know, the first one who ends up having a problem. But that's the kind of thing that comes out when a complaint about something else entirely is made about a transaction in which you were doing. Because the committee, when they look at a complaint file, when they look at a situation, it's like they look at everything, all who said what to whom, and then this thing comes out, and the worst, it ends up jamming you up. So I just think about that, because that's one of the things that I do. I try to think about these things on them around in your head, and have a good discussion with your client, and then document everything, put it in that ethical public perception issue. I'm not pricing sure, I think.
The other way around with overpriced listings, guys that are just loading up on overpriced listings.
Yeah.
When the market go up.
Yeah, but probably not, because we've all seen overpriced listings for ages and trying to buy them. There's no frustration there because people don't want to buy them. There's the flip side to it. Overpriced listings, same thing. Initial is CMA, right? Pre-planned price reductions. That's technique, right? We're green, and that's they wouldn't be willing to pay that much. We'll go back to breast. So even if we can find someone who pays no attention to them, and they make an offer over market, it's not going to appraise. So it's still, that's a sales.
Yeah, but he doesn't need a mortgage.
Yeah, understand the challenge here. You want me to find someone who's smart enough to amass $1.5 million and dumb enough not to shop around. That's what you want me to do. Okay. Let's see what I can do. That's all Jerry. Pull out his book. It's just all memorized. Okay, so that was just my sort of rant for the day. It was just. You want to hear about weirdness today? I mean, that's why I'm here, right? Because I mean, I could talk. How about a listing on Sidaway? I think it's still listed. You know where Sidaway is in Richmond? Sidaway 99 is. And there's a road just south of the auto mall that runs parallel to 5-acre parcels on there. And that's Sidaway Road. How do I know? Because Joe Gill on Sidaway Road, right, Bill? And there's a listing there with an $800,000 bonus on it.
That's nice.
Where's the guy that won the lottery?
So you know, we get a couple of calls about it, and you know, of course, you know, we don't touch commissions and commission amounts with a 10-foot pole, maybe even a 100-foot pole. But that did attract our attention. So, you know, we looked into it, and you know, we talked to the brokerage and expressed some concern about that bonus. Well, and I don't even know if it might still be listed, but basically it was listed for about $6 million and didn't sell. So then they listed it for $7 million and put an $800,000 bonus on it. Yeah. Whether that worked or not, we can check after the meeting. When you think about the consequences of that, it's the same kind of thing. So now maybe that's your overpriced listing example, the flip side of it. So now you've got a buyer who pays property transfer tax on $800,000. You've got, you know, if it's a new home, I don't know whether it is or not, you've got GST on an increased amount. You've got distortion of the market in our stats. That's really important. You know, so you know, our MLS system, it's, you know, it's it's the thing that we have, that we invented, that we pay for, and it has a reputation itself. I mean, apart from us, it has a reputation. It is the go-to thing, and you can bet that there's all kinds of people out there wanting to take a run at it and create their own and charge you a whole pile of money to use theirs. They try it all the time. They're trying to get between you and your client all the time. Just sign up here. You know, Costco, for example, good people, you know, that sign up here and pay us some money because they want to get in between us and the end user. And there's all kinds of people who want to create an MLS.
Doesn't the agent, in fact, say that the seller will only pay $800,000 if the price is full price, otherwise I'll pay $800?
Oh, I don't know. Have you looked at that one? I did look at
We're
it.
running
They
to
changed
that.
it.
We're running to that. Not this extreme example. But that was a bonus.
Well, let's talk about bonuses. I remember in 1980, Bob Rennie was offering a BMW with every condo that you sold, because no one was buying anything. It was 81, but you just couldn't sell anything. So BMW was kind of a cheap thing to offer. Okay, so bonuses are only available when the precise terms of that listing price and terms are met. And after that, it's open to negotiation. Now, you have to agree to waive it. So if the seller accepts your buyer's offer and there's a bonus offered and nothing's said, you're entitled to the whole thing, right? The entire selling commission as stated, plus the bonus as stated. But it may be that the seller says, well, at that price, we're not paying this. And they will counter back with a change. The default is always whatever stated must be paid. I went in this room that put the decimal spot in the wrong. Has anybody ever done that?
Okay.
Yeah, and you got to pay it. Even if the board makes that mistake, you have to pay it. It seems unfair, but it doesn't happen very much. It's extremely rare, but it can happen, data entry and so forth. or your front end, they make a mistake. They've got 100 listings to put in. They put the decimal in the wrong spot. You're supposed to check that the minute it gets published. Every single field, make sure it's accurate because you're putting your name on listing.
So Kim, if there's a change in the commission that's to be paid.
Yeah.
How is that? That's before you get your, so you bring an offer to the table.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you're starting to negotiate commission as well as the negotiated price with the buyer.
Well, I would think, correct me if I'm wrong, because as I said, it's been a while since I've actually been in your shoes, but I would think it would come back in the form of a counteroffer. And you might have another document signed by both brokers establishing what the commission is. There is actually it's Section 7. It's one of the ones in Section 7 in the Rules of Cooperation, and it says unless that's offered has to be paid unless the two brokerages agree in writing to change it. That's the rule. Period. There's no deviation for it, so it has to be paid. So I would think you certainly want something in writing. Want some evidence of it. Is anybody on the arbitration committee in here? No? Yeah. They don't come up all that often anymore. And of course, you've got the two-tier thing, $10,000 if you introduce the property and you do all the, the work and buy me a bunch of flowers and a case of champagne and, you get 10 grand. But if you don't do any of that, then you get 800. And I get, perfectly acceptable with the real estate board. But perhaps, who does that benefit? By the way, just curious.
Listing agent.
Okay, so when you're an agent, who are you working for?
Seller.
Okay, so is there a chance? This is another ethical thing. Is there a chance that when you got that commission offering on your listing, that a buyer agent could say, "Screw him! I'm going to show something." Right? Is that going to happen? Yeah. Okay. So you're the agent for the seller. You got any conflict there? I think you do, personally.
Yeah.
And it's actually backed up by legal opinion I got from Brian Taylor. Because when I started the job in 2006, I wanted to ban it. I went, okay, that's just wrong. Ban it. I said to Brian Taylor, for Brian, right? Yeah, he's retired. He came back because of the Competition Bureau, and don't think the board should be commissioned ever. It's $1 or more. There's some issues with agency. Just think about these. Think about, like, who is this benefit to me? And there's to my client. If the downside to my client and get their approval. Do they go fine? If they're okay with it, cool. No worries. No issues.
On
Yes,
a lower price commission, how do you handle it if the selling salesperson wants more of a commission? How do you
Square that. The other half of that phrase. Square that. I can't remember. Okay, so there is a still 708. Want to throw a number around? Actually, no, you can make them up. Your colleagues are never going to okay, so that's the commission increase clause. And it's and would be even suitable for potential you didn't introduce a buyer situation, or you've got a posting brokerage that's offering $1, and you don't work for $1, maybe you want $2 or $3 or something. So here's how it works. The protocol to follow is your agent for the buyer. So all your responsibilities to the buyer. So let's move a little bit in advance of writing the offer for that low commission listing. Let's go back to when we met the buyer, because there's something that has to happen first, and that I personally think we ought to be doing when we start working with buyers. When I started, and I bet it's still the same, we're buyer agent, we don't talk about commission to the buyer, do we? never bring it up. I mean, maybe some of us do now, but we just don't bring it up, right? So then we end up in a jam, right? Because we find a listing that's suitable for our buyer, and it's a $1 listing. Man, at the sellers, that's what they're offering. I could say, can you pay me $9,999? You know, you're embarrassed now. I never talked about commission before, right? So it's actually this issue. They offer what that. It's our issue. So when you're a buyer's agent, okay, what are you looking for? 3-bedroom in Delbrook, you know, with shag carpeting and grass cloth on the wall with bronze mirrors. I mean, that's okay. So fine. Well, we'd like to be in there by December. Cool. Okay. Cars in the garage, 2. Perfect. What size lot? This great. Let's see what I can do. Now look, on available properties in the Delbrook area that will fit your money. Okay. This is a suitable home. My fee for finding a suitable home is $10,000. That's my fee, if that's your fee. Now, to the seller's agent for that $10,000. And if they're offering $10,000, I'll collect my fee from them. You make your offer. It's all done. If they're offering $5,000, then we've got some decisions to make, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. And those decisions are: A, do you want the place? B, how am I going to get paid? I'll collect $5,000 from the seller's agent. You cut me a check for $5,000, right? Nice and easy. Or you cut me a check for $9,000. Or, this is 708, you instruct me to put a clause into the contract requiring that the seller pay another $9,999 in commission. So that's how it works. Now, but it only works if you follow the protocol. Because you're the buyer's agent, you need the instructions from your client. You've got to disclose all material information to your client. So you want something in writing where they instructed you to put that clause in.
But you can't be party to the contract.
Yeah. Hold on, we'll get to the contract within a contract in a minute. Yeah, and I got Brian Taylor to weigh in on that too. I think you'll like what you're going to hear. Okay, so now we're just disclosing to our client, and we're getting instructions from our client as to what to do. Right? So now it's cool. Now, of course, you put the clause into the contract. I don't have that clause, but it could be just nice and simple. Buyer agent commission to be increased to X. Right? If you're the way, might be a good idea to do a commission increase addendum. Otherwise, right? Because the seller could say, I only pay what's on the listing contract. You're going to present to the seller. The seller can say no, of course. Need a buyer agent say you can't use it. They actually don't need it. So that's within a contract situation. I'm not a lawyer, but there's really no difference between a demand made by a buyer for the seller to repair the roof from the buyer demanding that the seller pay his agent.
Except that the only person that can sue for that commission, if it doesn't get paid, is the buyer. And buyer is probably not all that willing to sue.
That's fair comment.
And so that's why that it gets backed up by the agreement, and that's why the listing salesperson also has to alter their listing agreement to reflect the increase.
Yeah, the pricing addendum. Well, please do what Bill says. Okay.
We just went through it. We just went all the way just about to court. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That one. Okay. Anyway, but it's never, is it? It's never black and white. But it doesn't happen very often. But there are a lot of commissions that are negotiated
they're done, responsibly with this protocol. What you don't want to do is go to the presentation, seller's agent cheat. This would be necessary if you paid a decent. I'm surprised anybody. Yeah.
Are you other provinces to the contract a cooperation fee agreement that both buyer and seller need to sign?
Yeah.
And it says either what's on MLS is what the seller is paying the buyer's agent. So it's kind of disclosure of remuneration, but both realtors.
Yeah.
It makes things a lot easier in terms of disclosure with people are where some people are saying, well, does the seller really know that their agent's only offering $1 on MLS?
Mm.
It's black and white, and there's two options. What's MLS? Do you happen to know if BC is looking at all to doing that? I mean,
If it were
this thing.
like that, would be, and it would make an edict, and we would all change our requirements and our forms.
But you're not aware if that's even
No.
a discussion? Because I know other provinces haven't been using
Yeah.
it for years.
It's funny, every place has got something that it does a little bit different. It looks quite attractive. I mean, well, perhaps the creation and its requirement to phantom offers, allegations of phantom offers, and that requirement that all the offers be registered and so forth, and it all be audited. I was talking to the professional conduct guy at TREB about he's careful what an absolute nightmare. A complaint gets made to do all kinds. I can and have on like ours more than any. I think they just said that. I can compel the documentation and review it. Now I can call the buyer. The details of them were, but I can talk to the buyer and say, look, there actually were 3 offers. 2 of them were higher than your process. It starts with a complaint, right? So there's that. Yes, sir.
You're talking about the conflict for if a seller's agent is not paying a full commission, that a lot of buyers agents may not try to show that property. And I know that that's not supposed to know, but you mentioned that as a conflict. Have you ever come across a conflict where in the section of bonuses being paid, where a buyer finds out afterwards that there was a bonus being paid that they felt caused them to have a little bit more incentive towards selling that property?
Oh.
I feel like that's the same kind of thing, right? Like where you're pushing on a property just because it's got a bonus.
Sure.
Like an $800,000 bonus. But
And I don't know if it was captured by if the post, by the way, if they heard that. So this comes down to disclosure. Let's say we're working for the buyer, we're buyer's agent. There's no difference in fiduciary obligations between being agent for the buyer and agent for the seller. And we have 3, right? Disclosure, loyalty, confidentiality. Those are the 3. Those are the ones we're always thinking about. So this is a disclosure question to our client. Is the client aware before they make their decision of all the facts? One of which is that you're being paid an extra $800,000 selling them that property. Are they aware? Cool. You got documentation and the feature sheet. Actually, I've never checked. Paragon has that feature sheet with the place for the initial. For the yeah. Okay. Okay. So they do. Yeah. So you have your buyer initial that feature sheet with the commission that shows the bonus and this, and that's your protection that the buyer understood and that you met your fiduciary obligation to disclose that material fact to them. There's also the council form. You know, you can use that. I don't know too many members who do. Although in the Okanagan Mainline Real Estate Board, they require that form. That's their requirement. They don't allow a feature sheet in a out of the MLS. Yeah, they use the council form.
I think we all use
Yeah.
that.
Do the council form?
Yeah.
Do you?
About 40%, 50%.
I think we were initially told the MLS was
Well, that comes down to brokerage discretion. And when I was a broker, there were certain policies that I had in effect in my office that I wanted for risk management purposes and just, you know, the way I felt that we should do business. So if your brokerage has said, we want you to use the council form, then yeah, you're required to use it. And I actually think it's good practice to do that. It's a more robust form than just the feature sheet, right? Because actually, when you talk to Larry Butters at the council about commissions that have a percentage, we won't talk about any particular commission, but there's all kinds of different buyer agent commissions. To a buyer, if you think about them, they're pretty cryptic. And what does this mean? You know, X point XXX, you know, first 400,000 and then X point XXX on the next 2 million. You know, some buyers could be argued they have no idea what that means. And Larry said once, you know, we're okay with you guys doing percentages like that, but if we start getting a lot of complaints about it that's not properly explained, we might come down with a requirement that it be more fully explained so that the buyer is aware, right? And again, disclosure, your agency obligation.
One of our concerns, Kim, is that it's not fully disclosed, and could you just initial the copy of the listing here?
Oh, yeah, I did comment on that. So your concern is that, let's say somebody puts what I call a two-tier commission on a listing, and that's the one where it's, you know, 10 grand if you do all the work and 10 cents if you don't introduce the buyer, right? That one, or similar, or some other thing. So the requirement is that must be in the commission field. Now that we have Paragon, it doesn't go into Realtor Remarks anymore. Goes into the commission field because the field's now bigger and can accommodate all that language. And it has to be on the Schedule A or page 1 on that line if you write very small. It's got to be there, but we don't check listings anymore at the real estate board. I mean, most people have them input at their office. You input them, right? Is there a central input place?
Not the office, individual agent. Yeah.
You guys enter your own?
Sure.
Trusting souls.
Yeah.
Okay, so some enter, some don't. Okay, that's a higher risk for the brokers. Okay, I'm just thinking, wow. Okay,
Thanks, Kim.
well, I'm trying to help you guys out here. I'm thinking, oh, okay, fine. All right, so some enter. Well, there's 3 ways to get a listing to the board. It can actually get faxed to the board, and some people still do that. And we have some staff who will enter that data the way they used to. Okay. And then we actually do see the listing and it's reviewed. Then there's brokerage input and agent input, where we trust at the real estate board that listing has been properly reviewed, work, legality, all the rest of it, and the information's accurate. And that puts the onus on the member link and the member for that information. So that 2-tier piece of paper connected with that listing with the seller's signature. So if a complaint will tell the listing, and we'd look for that, call Joe. Joe, someone's doubting that has approved it. Can you look at the listing in the Schedule A? And he would, and he'd go, yeah, it's there. Okay, cool. But we assume that it's there. If it and it's just like that's the way law enforcement works. That's the way our whole society works. Is that because we're not a totalitarian state, we trust people to follow the law, and if they're caught, then they get punished. We don't do unless you're being. We don't do audits. with the assumption that everyone's breaking the law. It's like, that's the way these systems work. That's why, there's stuff that you see some get addressed, because it's just not possible to address every single thing. You have to address the big stuff when complaints are made. Did I answer your question?
In a roundabout way, but the listing, the purpose of them signing that is to say, this is the commission I get paid, and it could be you. Oh, Kim, could you just acknowledge this listing?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so look at that. So if a complaint were made, I don't go to the seller and say, did Joe Lloyd explain that commission to you? I actually wanted to do that in 2006. But Deborah Spicer said, no, we think we'd like to keep you at the board for a while. For the first 3 weeks you'd have a job, and then you wouldn't have a job. The members wouldn't like that. So, okay, fine. I don't do it. But if we, from a seller, saying, I commission, now there's a problem. An issue. So that brings back to the written instructions. That a what would be in your file to support it? Well, in this case, there's a listing contract. With scheduling with their signature. So, the weight is going to be on your side. The favor is on your side. It's going to have to, that you somehow slid it under them, waved a magic wand. Much harder argument to make. I'm not saying it's quite difficult to argue against that. So get the document.
I'm going to try one more time. Make it clear. I'm talking about the buyer's agent to the client. To the buyer. Just when you disclose on for the buyer's agent to say, just acknowledge this.
The feature sheet.
Yeah. The feature
was
it before?
Yeah. It is. It is. There's just a little line there, isn't there? And you just that buyer. If the buyer phone, I think a bit of a difficult. You'd have to look at all the complaint. If they're just saying you never told me, and that's their initial there. We're not the police. We're just a professional.
Kim, in the case of bonuses, the state board and organized real estate.
Well, no, I shouldn't. No, it's not the real estate board doesn't have a problem with it. We accept it. We like to talk about ethical issues and business practice and so forth, and concerns that we have. So, yes, when I real estate board, I felt, and frankly, I think it's an attempt to reintroduce threshold rights. That's what I think. If you want, and but the board is perfectly fine. You're doing it. Continue to do it if that's what you do and that's your business model. Cool.
And probably most knowledgeable people would maybe share your opinion.
Yep.
So I guess the point I was going to make is perhaps when a two-year commission or a bonus for the real estate board actually extended be disclosed. Quite frankly, when I see large bonuses, I'm quite frankly suspect.
Okay, well, in response to Chris's suggestion, that would probably be more of a council edict than a board regulatory thing. But typically, the real estate board information that the members onto the MLS service, we don't have a relationship with the seller or the buyer. You have the relationship with the buyer. And brokerages typically don't like the board to start talking to their clients. There'd probably be the pitchforks would come out at some point if we tried that. But it's a good one, Dave.
As a buyer's agent, if you come across a two-tier commission or a bonus, do you have the right to ask for a copy of the Schedule A?
Okay. And you're not happy with whatever's being on. You have a right to ask. Well, you got a right to ask.
Actually,
no.
No, okay.
They've got a right to say
They do
no.
not have to give you a copy of it.
There are some documents that you are entitled to see, and that would be, so we change our focus now into showings. So 4.2 is the rule where the default right that you have if you're a buyer's agent, when your offer is presented, you have the right to be there. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, these are nice people. That whole thing. But if the seller's agent has got that no buyer's offer is presented, that's allowed if the seller so instructs in writing, and you're entitled to see that instruction. And it's not all someone today, and they go, oh no, have you got written instructions? No, too bad. For future showings, fine. Future offers, you're entitled to be there. So now you're facing, okay, seller's agent presentation, right? Yeah.
Kim, coming back to the two-tiered system, I was where the two-tiered system was described on the comments and the listing, but when you asked, it was actually never signed. Seller was not in the service. I think we have a right to ask for the service.
We can't. In response. So if you were to make and say, but you have that in writing, a phone bill back, and will they word, or you actually want to go formal and have the power to compel these documents. So I can compel.
Just edit and see.
Yeah, rely or honest. Which I call a usual human breed and all the rest of it. But most of the time, we're pretty honest. And so things, occasionally we have train wrecks.
So that gets into resolve, absolutely. Any question? Anything, both brokerages signs, sell and buy, all addressed, and it's a separate document.
Yeah. Where are you from?
And I just saw it, and I saw it, and
yeah,
again, it's black and white. It's cross-referencing the contract that the fee agreements are, or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's still, it's not
always the thing.
We're very creative about getting around stuff. Have you ever noticed that?
Mhm.
Yeah, we really are. We're good entrepreneurs. But maybe it would be something to look at. I don't know. It would be for council to look at though, because that's a regular.
So, and that often is because people don't know what the commission structure is. Because it's fair game, but maybe we can talk a little bit about that. Shame on
Christine,
Okay.
Okay, well, you're supposed to. Okay, that posed the scenario in a minute when that particular question. But so there's this little listing sort of clubs, groups, and you tell him or her that you're going to be getting a listing, and it's just sort of circulated amongst a small group of people. Well, I don't think it's a breach of anything, but you know, if we look back to our agency obligations, which is what we always do when the next cool thing comes along, right? We always look at it, perceive it through these three things: loyalty, confidentiality, and disclosure, right? So that the listing is only being promoted to people that's not on MLS, it's not generally available. It's fine because it's an exclusive listing, and with an exclusive listing gives you. When I started, half the listings on the west side of it, they didn't cooperate. A buyer of this place on Walnut, I'm going to try and sell it myself for a month. If I can't sell it, give me a call back. And that's the way it was. So it would be okay, but I just, again, want to make sure that the clients, is there anything in your file that supports it? Now, then there's a competition imposed, because if, you know, I'm just here, you know, if review, you know, the competition bureau has the ability to punish relating to a conspiracy, you know, and you've got the might of the federal government and all its money and its lawyers looking for this evidence of a conspiracy. Why wouldn't listing end up on day one and sell it? Right? Well,
you know, right here they can't have, and so
Okay.
so I think there's an argument that people are actually getting more money for a listing that's not on the market. Because people are willing to pay a premium to secure it before it hits the market.
well, okay, and if that's the case, the seller gave informed, and that was the pricing strategy or the marketing strategy. Again, that's cool. You're acting in your seller's best interest, right? So, and you know, it works out well. You just get concerned that sellers make decisions, as we were talking about, or clients don't know, right? They don't understand. Yes.
Well, I've had occasions where the seller actually, which is hard to sell property, doesn't want anybody to know. They want to sell it. They want the money. They just want you to keep it quiet.
You know, I love that. And then 400 realtors show up in cars on a Tuesday morning. There's no sign, but everyone shows up. Yeah. Yeah. The moving trucks.
Hello there.
Hi.
Kim, just before you go on that, on the exclusive listing, you gotta ask, hey,
The buyer's agent does.
the buyer's agent does.
You get it in writing,
Yeah, you wanna get it in writing.
because there is no right. You have no right.
And if you have an email from a listing agent, an exclusive listing agent saying 50% of the $10,000 commission, you're good. That's
Yeah, I would think so. That's in writing. I mean, the best notarized document. It's better. I don't like text. Writing is best. Maybe you want to confirm that, some sort of commission agreement. Christine!
Okay, that's good because you're the ethics guy. I'd like to know. Representing a house in the seller's agent, and the buyer, the seller wants, let's say.
Heaven forbid.
Walks in and wants you to read an offer that they spend a lot of time and they want the house.
Okay. You know, what Wine Coast people. So you've got a listing, and it and a buyer comes along who's willing to pay that price, and you're limited to an agent. You know, what obligations do you have? Equal. Agency obligations to both of you, what the seller is willing to accept, what the buyer is willing to pay. For the buyer to buy and the seller to sell, I get to keep that confidential from each side. And the third one is I won't reveal anything a personal situation that's not already revealed in the paperwork. So they're getting to or something. I don't have to reveal that. But everything else has to be revealed. I guess the concern, okay, well that's fairly strong as to how they establish their price, like a CMA or something. Would it have their initials on it? I said earlier, I think it's great to get initials on it. Also, that I personally think from a risk perspective that you should be limited to a agent. The customer, you know, to that.
So, taking that a step farther, are you providing best practices to and maybe it's a bit naive, but just are you saying, I mean, it's less money. You're saying,
What? People do that all the time. You have members, buyers, if they have the listing. They tell them to get their own agent. And that's cool. No, to the buyer.
The question you have to ask is, what makes you think it's overpriced?
Yeah. What I'm thinking.
It's grossly price. Now, they may have got a steal. So you have to watch when you start to put your values on it. This guy wanted to, and this guy is.
Yeah,
that's where they're.
Area, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right. But I think.
Stood pricing now, as I said earlier, for about 20 years. Okay.
How much we're asking
I have an obsession with cars, okay, with vintage cars, and I've saved searches in eBay the same way you do for certain things, for certain kinds of cars. And every message is from eBay, all the stuff that's been listed on eBay. And when I see something, first of all, I don't ever share that information with my wife. I then, okay, you know what Auction Sniper is? That's a set and forget bidding machine. You log in, you put in the amount that you're willing to pay, the maximum amount that you're willing to pay, and you can 4 seconds before the auction ends, and makes the bid, right? So, for example, well, it went. It's okay. So I want that, and I'm going to get it. Bid a lot of money in I'm hoping when I do that, there's not some other moron like me out there who's also put a stupid price in there, and you usually end up getting it. So you want something enough, $1,000 for it. You might have to pay $200, but you the property, and they don't care. They want that buy it. So Mr. eBay is not going to say it is now because I'm willing to pay it. Right?
Interesting. I was gonna. It was 5 minutes ago, and couldn't get it in. So can I just get? Tim's Real Resource and Barb is outstanding as well. At the board, great when I come. We've got 6 houses on tour. All houses, Sharon?
1 condo.
5 houses on tour in North Vancouver. That's going to set a record here. So that's cancel our tour. Was that 3 weeks ago, Sharon? There's nothing for sale. Something else. Anyway, thank you all very much for coming next week.
Online.
No.